Hello, good morning, everyone. 2025 was an insane year for AI companies. We saw $100 million Series A's. For the first time in history, we saw $20 million pre-seed rounds. We saw companies with traction raise two big rounds, one right after the other. It's been a crazy time in technology where the companies that have distribution then go on to raise much bigger and larger rounds. What we saw last year was that VCs deployed more capital than ever. If you look back the last 10 years, you can see a growth in the overall funding of startups. What we saw crazy exponential growth last year with the introduction of AI. When you look at all of these funding rounds, it looks pretty crazy from a numbers perspective. But behind the scenes, we actually see these companies are growing much faster than ever. What used to take 2 decades to get to $1 billion in revenue now only takes a couple of years. We're truly in an era where anyone can start something and anyone can get to billions in dollars of revenue in just a couple of years. This is the golden age of applications. If you're starting an AI app, you can go from 0 to 100 million ARR. These are very large and enduring businesses that created a lot of value because we've built a future where anyone can start something. This year, on the other hand, we're starting to see a lot of questions. Every day we see a new headline, Anthropic killing hundreds of AI startups. We see new announcements. Actually, one will be coming in a couple of hours. And so we see with each new model, there's a lot of questions for early stage companies that are getting started. OpenAI on the fintech side, as consumers are becoming increasingly excited and using ChatGPT for all different use cases, the question becomes, what does this mean for consumer fintech? What does this mean for mental health? What does it mean for all the categories where people are going to ChatGPT first to ask questions? In today's environment, it's never been easier to build. This is a good thing. Anyone can start something. You can start an app in minutes, and then the question becomes, as you have this app in market, when are you going to see more competition? So there's never been more competition as well. These big rounds, as I mentioned, they start to box out some of the smaller players. So if you're getting started today, the question becomes, how do we compete with these well-funded players and ones that are already thinking big, they're already thinking global, they're already doing a lot from an international perspective? So the question today is, how do you build a trillion-dollar company? What does it take? How do you, as a founder in Rio, start something from 0 to 1? It may feel like all odds are against you. You read all of these headlines, you see what's happening in TechCrunch. It feels like for every good idea, there's maybe 10 other companies doing the exact same thing. I'm Brianne Kimmel, an early stage investor and go-to-market advisor to the fastest growing companies in software. Working closely with Deal from the very beginning, Supabase, WorkOS. I work with technical founders and I help them go from 0 to $1 billion exit and beyond. When I started WorkLife in 2019, I had this vision. Our idea was that we wanted to change how people work. We wanted work to be more flexible, and we wanted to enable a future where anyone can start something. What that means is we were way ahead. In 2019, vibe coding was not a thing. We were early investors in the no-code movement and spent a lot of time thinking about the creator economy. But really, what happened was we needed this AI movement to take off for our vision to be true. So we believed that work could be more creative, that anyone could start something. We wanted life to be more flexible and not tied to an office. And so we very much believe as a firm that anyone can be the next trillion-dollar CEO. Now, what's interesting is there's this whole new era that's getting started. Not just in Silicon Valley, also in Hollywood. Every industry is being disrupted. You can have a franchise like Disney, the Star Wars franchise. You can have all of the budget in the world. Studio budget, marketing budget, budget for the best talent. That's great. So the new Star Wars film did well, but then at the same time, you can see You can make even more with less budget. We've entered a world where someone with a good idea can actually outperform the biggest and largest and the best institutions. Every single industry is being disrupted in this way. It's by outsiders who become insiders. The best builders can truly win today. It's possible to have a 100-year-old company that everyone knows and loves be completely disrupted by a 26-year-old who's making a film for the first time. And the same is also true in Silicon Valley. So, you can start the next trillion-dollar company today, but it requires an entirely different mindset. When you think about vibe coding, and that's a key theme of this entire conference, when vibe coding was even named, Cursor was already a $10 billion company. Anthropic had already shipped Claude Code. Replit and Lovable were already unicorns. So there is no category for the next big thing. You actually have to create it. On average, by the time a category is named, it's 5 to 6 years in the future. So whatever you're building today, if there is no category, that's a good thing. You're already living in the future, and you need everyone else to catch up with you. So how do we create a new category? This is the tricky part. I work with founders, and mostly technical founders, where to create a category, it really requires a lot of writing. You have to evangelize what you're doing. You have to be unashamed of the problem that you're solving. You have to talk about it consistently. You have to really ensure that with every breath you take, every conference you speak at, every dinner you go to, you're constantly evangelizing your mission, and people know what you stand for. Another thing that we're seeing today is companies, more than ever, are doing a great job leaning on their customers. I included this example. So my friend Stein started an AI company for doctors' offices and dental offices. So what you see in the headlines is that he just raised $47 million. That's amazing. You're wondering, how did he do that? Did he already have VC connections? Is he a second-time founder? Like, what is the secret to him raising this amount of money? Well, the secret to raising this amount of money was he spent the last 6 years in doctors' offices. He would drive 5 or 6 hours. He would spend many days of the week. He would sit in the office next to the doctor and document everything that they do. So the key thing with creating a category is you have to deeply understand who you're building for and who you sell to. There aren't any shortcuts. It may seem like right out the gate he raised a lot of money, but in practice, he's actually been spending 12 hours a day, also evenings and weekends. Every free minute that he has, he's spending in the office, sitting next to the doctor, to really understand thoroughly what they do and how AI and these new technologies can really support their practice. So when we think about distribution, start by creating a category. Talk about the things that you're working on. Find the right customers, sit next to them, build alongside of them. Make sure that you are working hand in hand with those customers, and that is how you start to define the category. The next thing is we need to build a movement. Now, this sounds scary at first, but it's something that you can do with baby steps and very much in scalable ways. So the first step is you have to go where your users are. We see now more than ever, the world has changed. Everyone's online, everyone's using social media. There's a really amazing opportunity to not just rely on even big conferences like this, but to get on the road and actually meet your customers. Cursor does this incredibly well. They host hundreds of events throughout the year. They'll host one in Bogota, they'll host one in Rio, they'll host one in New York City. They go to every major city in the world. They rent out a coffee shop, they teach people how to use Cursor, and then they go back to their office. This idea of getting on the road and doing a road show is incredibly important, and it doesn't require a lot of budget. You can host it from a WeWork, you can go to a coffee shop. The whole idea is, how do you bring people together in the same room and allow them to experience your product and also your people? To have a one-to-one connection with someone on your team where they feel like they not only know how to use your product, but they also have this relationship if they have any questions or if they have any concerns as they're building later on. The next thing is thinking about how do you create these experiences. So one thing that's incredibly important, and it seems very small, but something as simple as what kind of swag do you give out? Are you giving out just another mug, or can you print someone's design on a scarf? Thinking about ways to involve your community in every aspect of your go-to-market is incredibly important. We're no longer just relying on building a great product and then pushing it out to our customers. We're actually collaborating with our customers and really celebrating the work that they're doing as they use our product. The third thing is thinking about how to go global from day one. The amazing thing about AI is we now have so much access to cheap translation tools, whether that's translating our website, whether that's using any of the voice AI companies to localize all of the content you're creating. We've entered a world where language is no longer a barrier, and it should not be a barrier for our customers. From day one, you can launch in many different languages. You can host in-person events and really engage locally. And you can start to build this very distributed community of people that love what you do. So the next thing to think about is, how do we use this where we created a category, we've built this momentum behind us. Now that we have this community, how do we continuously ship great products to keep that community engaged and to ensure that we're building an enduring business where multiple times throughout the year there's something for our customers to look forward to? There's a new feature, there's a new product, there's something that keeps them excited and engaged. Here's a great example. So to build a massive product company today, you need many products with many buyers. I included this example from 11 Labs. They have both the consumer side of the business, which is text-to-speech, dubbing, turning any podcast into any language. Any way that you consume audio, they have free products to get people excited and using the work that they're doing. So as we think about moving into this new era, and as we imagine this world that we can build irrespective of funding, a lot of the things that I've talked about today are things that you can actually do today. Whether that's clearly communicating your problem and starting to write more, whether that's going and working alongside your customers in their office, or whether that's getting on the road and designing these experiences where community becomes a core part of what you're doing. Every conversation can become a piece of content. Every mention on social media can then feed back into your strategy, whether that's celebrating the work of your customers or finding ways to go global from day one. Every action that you take should contribute to that community, and over time that community should become even bigger and more global and internationalized. I'm Brianne Kimmel. You can connect with me on Twitter. I'm also on Substack as well. Thank you.